much. Does that work? Oh, there we are. We're back in. So, Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. Just to say, if you want more detail on what I'm going to talk about, I've produced a white paper for you, and if you give me a business card, I'll be happy to send you a copy later. As Shia said, we've heard talks on some profound subjects yesterday, but one word that keeps cropping up is innovation. We need to innovate. It's vital for us. It does two things for us. Firstly, it makes our life easier, and I'm all in favour of anything that makes my life easier, but perhaps more importantly, it drives economic growth, the holy grail that we all search for. And we're now in the sixth wave of innovation. Innovation waves come, they get progressively shorter, and every wave is characterized by the key drivers that are going to force innovation in that wave. So as an example, the first wave was the Industrial Revolution, and in that time it was the ability to make things out of iron, the use of steam to drive machinery, and the importation of cotton that drove innovation. So what's going to drive innovation now in this sixth wave? Well, two things really. It's going to be our search for clean fuel. That drive and search is going to dominate what we do. We've got electric cars now, but I guarantee that's not where we're going to end up. And the second thing is our relationship with computers. Now we've got the Internet of Things, computers talking to computers without human intervention. We have virtual reality and the metaverse so that we can learn and experience things in the comfort of our home that we could never do before. And of course AI. We heard Doug referring to ChatGPT that everyone uses now as a search engine, very common. And there's some great uses for AI. One of the founders of Xecofy, Naveed Kavaja, he's been involved in the Amal project here in Pakistan, and that project is using AI to analyze mammogram x-rays so that women can get treatment and diagnosis for breast cancer much faster. So there are some great uses for that technology. However, because these are all technical things, you are going to need, and I'm sure you all employ, technical people in your organization. And that's absolutely great, providing they can communicate. But I'm pretty sure most of you will have sat through a presentation by a technical person, ably supported by a dense power-packed slide deck with bullet points back to back, rapidly losing the will to live. And you might think, well, it would be nicer if that didn't happen. But good communication is not a nice to have, because two things happen if communication is bad in your organization. Number one, it throttles innovation. And number two, you bleed money. And when Xecofy do an initial analysis, when we go into clients, we always do an initial analysis so that we know we're treating the root cause and not one of the symptoms. Predominantly, one of the problems that comes up is communication. And so what I want to give you today are the three biggest sources of financial loss in your organizations. The first is meeting inefficiency. I already mentioned the presentations that people give with all the power-packed slides. What that does is make your meetings run longer. Now, I can tell you that the estimated cost of wasted time, not total time, wasted time only, in meetings in the UK is £28.6 billion a year. Now, to put that into context, that's 5% of our gross domestic product, the GDP. Now, I'm sure it would be very similar here in Pakistan, but both governments, Pakistan and UK, would die for a 5% growth in GDP during the year, and yet every year we throw it away because of poor technical presentations. And there's a problem. because you may or may not know that technical people are built upside down to managers. So for technical people, they're what we call bottom-up thinkers. They like to start every presentation with first principles and then build on it their knowledge, their experience, the research they've done. Then they go into the thought process and finally they finish with their climatic conclusion. But most executives are top-down thinkers. What they really want is the conclusion. What's the bottom line? Then they want an executive summary. Give me the key points. And then they want to know where the rest of the data is so they can interrogate it if they wish. And that's easy to fix. You can teach the technical people in your organization to present the way that decision-making boards and groups and senior managers want the information. So that's the first loss that you'll see. The second loss is the loss of competitive advantage. In order to innovate, communication has to flow from the bottom to the top of the organization easily. If it doesn't, the bright ideas from the people at the bottom get choked off somewhere in the middle, and the people who are making the decisions to invest the money don't understand the opportunities that their technical people are creating. Now, I thought this was an old problem because clearly I'm old, and when I was growing up, one of my role models was Lee Iacocca. I liked him because he was like me. He was a mechanical engineer. He entered the graduate program in Ford. He did a bit better than me because he ended up as CEO of Ford. But if you read his autobiography, you'll find that it's littered with quotations like, "It's always a shame when a bright guy cannot explain to the board the value of his ideas so they can take it on board." And so, in order to innovate, you need clear lines. And there are examples of it being done. Toyota's had a suggestion scheme for 70 years now. And the key to it is it's simple. The people who are technical, who deal with Toyota manufacture, who see the problems and have the bright ideas, only have to scribble it on a piece of paper. Even if they can't do that properly, then there are line managers who will help them do it. Then all they do is post it in a box, and then a team takes over. The person who made the original suggestion stays with it, so they're involved in its development. But there are people there to support him or her. They help them do the feasibility studies. They help them show the management the value of the idea. So if your communication is great from top to bottom, you will get that innovation. And the third thing you lose is the advocacy of your technical people. Now, technical people make great advocates. They're absolutely fabulous when they're client-facing. And the reason for that is they value one thing above all others, and that is integrity. You'll find that technical people always value their integrity. And the clients know this, and they trust them. Now, there is a chart produced every year. It's called the Veracity Index. It's produced by Ipsos. And what it is a list of professions in the order that the general public trusts them. Every year, doctors, engineers, scientists, nurses, they're all at the top of the list, the most trusted people in society. I know we have some honoured politicians in the room. Don't look, it's not good news. And if you've got sales in your title, don't even bother going there because you ain't there. I have to say that is just a reflection of perception. It's not accurate necessarily. However, so these people are trusted by the clients. And as long as you can teach them not to deluge the client with information, they are absolutely brilliant to encourage the clients to buy from you. So there we have the three main problems. But what can we do about it? Well, it's easy to say we can train people with technical knowledge. And when I say technical knowledge, we normally deal in what I call the slate industries: scientific, legal, accounting, technical and engineering, all people with high levels of technical expertise. So it's easy to say we should train them so they communicate better, and that's true. The line managers in the organisation also have a role in this, because they're the people who give feedback to the technical staff. And it's that feedback that often helps them develop. But the main people who can help are you, the senior executives and the CEOs. You are the people who create the communication culture in your organisation. We did some work here in Karachi for a big power provider, and they rang me up and they said, Bob, we want you to come and train our technical managers. And I said, what's the problem? They said they come and give a presentation, but we don't get all the information we want, so we have to send them away and they have to come back and redo the presentation. So I said, send me an example so I know what we're dealing with. And I knew what was coming. Big PowerPoint deck, lots of bullet points. So I rang him up and I said, what will your staff say to me when I tell them to stop using PowerPoint? He said, oh, you can't do that. That's the way we do things here. I said, then the problem's not them, it's you. And that's clear that people at the top set the example. And many times when I say to people at a technical level, why do you keep using PowerPoint? They say it's expected. We have to give over the PowerPoint slides afterwards. And yet it is possible for you to change it. Jeff Bezos has already done it at Amazon. He has banned PowerPoint. Now, that's not something I necessarily agree with, but I understand and it's very effective. What he's replaced it with, I think, is brilliant. Every presenter has to write a 6-page maximum report on what they're going to present. And then at the start of the meeting, everyone sits down and reads that 6-page report. Now, you know what it's like. If you send out papers in advance and say, read this before the meeting, no one does it. Everyone turns up. So he makes sure they all read it, and then they discuss it. A far more intelligent way of running meetings. So for me, changing the communication culture in your organisation is down to you. You can take the lead, and you can change the way your organisation communicates. And that way, I think you end up with a choice. If you manage to change it and improve it, then you make better profits and you innovate, which is going to be vital. The alternative is you bleed money. I know which one I prefer. Thank you very much.